So hi everyone, welcome to the Infracost May community call. Sorry about the voice, I have a bit of a cold, but it's not COVID, I give a test. So what I wanted to talk about today, so let's do quick introductions for people who are not on the call. They know I'm Ali, I'm one of the co-founders, mainly looking after the product side these days. Alistair, Vadim, Brett, in that order, please.
Okay, I'm Alistair. I'm another co-founder of Infracost. You'll find me on GitHub most of the time.
Hi, I'm Vadim. I'm engineer at Infracost. You can find me in Slack, community Slack, and GitHub.
Is it on me?
Sure.
I'm Brett. I'm just dabbling around in the open source space. I'm not part of the Infracost team. I'm here as part of the community call.
Awesome. Glad to have you. So I wanted to give a quick update on the new Get Started guide and also maybe get your take on it, Brett, too, while you're on the call. I'll share my screen so people can see. That way it might be easier. So with Infracost 0.924, we still have the explicit terraform-parse-hcl flag being required. But the Getting Started guide is now using this. So the idea is you generate a cost baseline. You can use that baseline JSON to output a table or different formats, and then you can make a change, and then you can run a diff. What we're doing just now, working on the 0.10 release, is essentially making this the default. So essentially, the next version of Infracost will just require Infracost breakdown --path dot. And by default, it parses HCL unless you point the path to a plan JSON file. So if you want to process plan JSONs, you can still point to it. But if you just point us to a directory, we're going to parse the HCL, which is super fast, doesn't require Terraform inits or creds or all those secrets that Terraform requires to make a plan. And then that also means you can run Infracost everywhere against a module or anything else, really. Questions, thoughts? Does this kind of make sense to you, Brett? Like that, was it clear from the guide that we have a JSON format, and then you can kind of use that JSON format to run a diff or output things in different formats?
Yeah, I think it was clear to me, and I think it makes sense probably removing that default flag as well. Seems like you're trying to push everyone there. So just to be clear, if I use a JSON file, it's going to require creds and it's going to go out and hit APIs versus parse HCL, right?
If you pass the plan JSON file, the Infracost CLI will just parse that plan JSON file. So the Infracost CLI won't go, it won't run, it won't invoke Terraform or anything like that. But you have to do that before you pass that to Infracost, if that makes sense.
Okay, sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's the idea. We kind of see the path ahead as you either want to parse HCL or you want to provide a plan JSON. And if you want to provide a plan JSON, you can do all of that stuff outside of Infracost and just pass the plan JSON path to Infracost. So we want to remove the dependency on the Terraform binary because that has caused a lot of friction. It's like one CLI tool calling another CLI tool, kind of gets messy. Alistair, anything I missed about this or the 0.10 release that's coming up?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, if you're putting it into CI/CD and you want to generate a plan JSON, then we'll have a bunch of examples for how you do that for different use cases. And how you can pass multiple plan JSONs as well to Infracost.
Yeah, because that's a common use case too.
But ideally, like we're still fixing a few sort of remaining bugs with the HCL parsing, but it's looking good so far. And you can just point it to your entire repo, and it'll pick up every project within it.
Yeah, that's one other kind of nice enhancements we're making is if we detect like a monorepo, then we'll just try and parse all of the directories. So that kind of just works out of the box. And if you want to provide variables, like my dev namespace or project needs these variables, then you can use a config file to say this path requires these variables, this path requires these variables, and so on. So that's kind of like that. And then I think the compare to, Brett, you were one of the early users of compare to. I don't know if you had a chance to use it. Is it working okay? Any kind of confusions with that or any questions about compare to?
No, it was slick. The only thing which I think you guys have addressed was I initially just thought to use the Infracost diff when I first started messing around with it, but at that time it was breakdown. So I think you guys addressed that. That was the only thing that kind of threw me off.
Yeah, that was your feedback and other people was kind of very useful because there's now the compare to only lives in diff because it kind of makes sense that the diff command is used to compare. We kind of removed that confusion. Awesome. So I wanted to briefly talk about these other CI/CD systems that we don't have like great examples for, but we do have READMEs. And the overall approach with, so we have GitHub Actions, GitLab examples, an Azure DevOps extension that you can install in your Azure DevOps, and you can use Infracost that way. So these kind of CI/CD systems are kind of popular, and we have spent a lot of time making examples, but we see a long tail of other CI/CD systems, Concourse being one of them that comes top of mind. And the overall approach we're taking for those is there are the Infracost Docker images or the executable that you can kind of install in your own image or pipeline. And then the idea is you generate the Infracost JSON file. This will be, so you generate a plan JSON file, but this is the part that's becoming optional now going forward from 0.10. Then you basically run breakdown and comment commands as you would on the CLI. So there's no difference between using Infracost on the CLI on your terminal versus just running it in your pipeline. And the key thing that has been tricky so far is because you needed a Terraform plan JSON, and on your machine you have CRED set up so you can generate a plan JSON, but in CI/CD it's different. That's kind of threw people off. So by making this optional, we hope that you can just run Infracost CLI commands on your machine or in CI/CD pipelines. And the only difference is in CI/CD, you probably want to use the comment command to post a comment. Whereas if you're running it locally on your machine, you don't need comments. You just want output and breakdown and diff. So that's the kind of overall approach we're taking to any other CI/CD systems. Given our small team size, we don't want to spend a lot of time recreating examples for all the long tail of other CI/CD systems. That's kind of the update I had is we'll keep supporting these CI/CD systems, but there'll be like a generic example and it should just work because it's the same thing you do on your machine versus you do on CI/CD. Alistair, Vadim, Brett, any questions or anything I missed on that?
Nope.
I'm hoping the HCL parsing will make the examples all a little more consistent as well. So it'll be the same sort of example you can use if you're using Terraform or TerraGrunt or multiple Terraform projects.
That's a great point. So at the moment, if you look at like GitHub or GitHub examples, it's the same with GitLab probably and the other ones. There's like 10 examples here, and it can be confusing to know like which one should I use. So this is being simplified massively by being able to parse HCL, because a lot of these, like some of these, the reason you probably want a multi-project build matrix is because parsing, because generating like 20 plan JSON files is super slow. So you need to parallelize it in CI/CD to speed up. But when we're parsing HCL, it's all super fast. So you probably don't need this. And the same with things like TerraGrunt, it doesn't need a specific example going forward because it just works. The CLI understands that it needs to parse HCL, and it kind of doesn't really care if it's Terraform or TerraGrunt. It just does its thing.
Saying all that, we will still have examples for if you do need to generate plan JSONs, because generating a set of plan JSONs for a TerraGrunt project is painful. And we've been through that pain many times, so we have good examples for that as well.
I think Tim, I can't remember if he's done that yet, but I think Tim was going to open an issue on the TerraGrunt project to see if we can work with them to make that simpler within the TerraGrunt open source project too. So the thing we'd love is if somebody's watching this and they're using GitHub Actions, GitLab, Azure DevOps, one of those kind of pipelines, and they want to do a quick usability test with us, where for 20 minutes, we watch you struggle using one of our examples in your pipeline, and we make notes of how we can simplify it. Ping us either on the community Slack is probably the best way, or just, that's probably the easiest way to reach out to us, is just join the community Slack and let us know if you've got 20 minutes to help us with some usability tests. I think those are like the main agenda topics I had. Anything else people want to discuss, or any other updates I missed? All right. I think that's us. I'll put this on YouTube and we'll continue the discussions on Slack too. Stay tuned for V0.10. It's going to be amazing. Cheers,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. We'll see ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.